Welcome, Rider Nation, to the Rider Report, the ins and outs of Yavapai College athletics. I'm Brad Clifford. I'm the athletic director here at Yavapai College, and today we have Tara Schmidt, our head athletic trainer, joining us. Tara, welcome to the program. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Tara has an impressive resume, and I'm going to read it off a little bit here. She began as an internship at Fresno City College. You're obviously out of Fresno, out of that area. Fresno City College worked with their sports medicine staff to get hours to apply for the Fresno State program, and eventually went to Fresno State. You graduated from Fresno State University in 2004. You got a BS in kinesiology. I hate to see BS. Bachelor's of Science in kinesiology, sports medicine option. She got to work with almost every sport there. Some of the highlights were working with the football team, the women's volleyball team, the track and field. She says she worked in a pole vaulting competition in Reno. I'm going to ask you about that in a minute. Worked with men's basketball and also the arena football team, the professional I'm assuming, arena football team, the Central Valley Coyotes. In 2004, you had a great 2004. Graduated, got married, and moved to Flagstaff. You started working for the therapy, DeRosa Physical Therapy there at Summit Center in Flagstaff. In 2005, 2006, you became a part-time athletic trainer here at Yavapai College when your husband came down and became the athletic trainer at Embry-Riddle. And then in 2006, you became our head athletic trainer here at Yavapai College. All right, so tell us about the pole vaulting in the casino.
So a group of our students from Fresno State were asked to go and work this competition up in Reno. And we had some of our athletes competing there. So we traveled with them. We get to the hotel, and I'm expecting us to go to a track and field where they're having these competitions.
Indeed.
And they said, no, it's here in the hotel. You don't have to worry about driving anywhere. You just go up to the third floor. We walk into one of those, it's just where they have the big conferences with all the dining tables. You expect to see a banquet room.
Right.
And we walk in, and there's a banquet room with 5 different lanes, blocks all the way down that they run on, with the pole vaulting pit at the end of each one. And we were there for 3 days and watched some of the littlest pole vaulters to, like I said, the oldest women's competitor in pole vaulting pole vault there and break her record. And so it was interesting. There's chiropractors working on all the people, and they'd come over and we would tape and we'd help them stretch, and they'd go and do this pole vaulting, and it was interesting. Yeah.
Indoor, so there was no wind factor, obviously.
Nope.
No.
Yeah, you couldn't fall which way or the other.
Right. Well, okay, so you got into athletic training. What inspired you to go into the athletic training field?
A couple of different things. I was in high school playing sports and got a really bad hamstring injury to the point where they didn't know if I was going to be able to play soccer anymore. And I had an athletic trainer new at my high school that was phenomenal, and I got to finish my senior year. And so I was really interested talking to her just about how she was able to, she would crank on my leg and do massage every day so I could get back to playing. And she was just fascinating, the stuff that she knew. And so when I went to Fresno State, I met who was my mentor, Ed Ferreira. And I was doing my internships, and I was creating my hours so I can apply for his program. And he's the one that really just said, "You're good at this, so do it. Keep doing it." So I really had two significant people that helped me make that decision.
That's fantastic. So here at Yavapai, you're in charge of injury recognition, and this is all athletic trainers. Yeah. Injury recognition, treatment, rehabilitation, the conditioning of YC students. That, to me, is a daunting task. So tell us about the day in the life of an athletic trainer at Yavapai College.
It's busy.
Yeah, indeed.
It's very busy.
And there's only one. Well, there's 2 of us. You got an assistant, Jared Campbell. But that's a daunting task with 4 sports.
It is. And anybody who says, "Oh, you only have 4 sports," I say yes, but it's still busy. We get here in the morning, and we're handling doctor's appointments and sick kids and those coaches that are like, "Who's going to practice for me today? Who's doing conditioning? What's going on with this injury and that injury?" And so it's full of a lot of time management skills is kind of what an athletic trainer needs to have. But we're trying to plan rehabilitation so that kids are back on the field. Those you have 90 athletes, but someone's rehab program can take an hour each. You don't have 90 hours in a day to do that. So it's very, very busy in the training room. It's where the tables are full and you're moving from one patient to the next, and you're trying to make sure everybody has their needs met so that they're able to compete.
It is a busy time, especially since all sports are practicing about the same time every day. So you do get a full training room. And you obviously, I know when I coached and you were the athletic trainer, you have the final say. A student athlete may come and say, no, I'm good. I would always say, well, what does Tara say?
Yes.
So you do have the final say in that.
Yeah, and I like to have those conversations with the kids. That's the fun part of my job, is getting to know them and know their personality and watching them want to compete. And so getting to talk with them about what's happening and how they're progressing. And it's hard to have that conversation and say, I just don't think you're ready. But sometimes that's what we're here for, is to rein them in so that they can have a longevity in their sport.
Yeah, we're not playing for today. We're playing for the future.
Yeah.
We'd rather you sit a day or sit a game in order that we may have you later, and you may be able to compete later. Tara, so I'm sure that you've seen some pretty gruesome injuries. I can recall one basketball game that I was coaching, and a young lady went down with a dislocated ankle, and it was protruding. And so I've seen. So tell us some of the worst injuries that you've seen in the sports world in your time.
Well, working just all the different sports, it varies across it. There's obviously, dislocations and fractures and things that are random. I had a track athlete running on the track, and she just fractured her femur running. And so it's very random, very crazy things sometimes that happen. Everybody says gruesome and gross, but to me they're really not that way. And that's probably, I don't know if that's because I've been doing it so long or what, but some of the harder injuries are the ones that affect the athletes emotionally.
Sure.
The ones they can't come back from or things like that. But I've, seen everything from broken arms, dislocated fingers, broken noses. Those probably are pretty gross because they're very bloody. Teeth, I'll never forget working a softball game and having a third baseman helping her look for her teeth in the dirt. There's just things like that happen that you just learn how to manage and stay calm. But by far the hardest ones for me to deal with are the ones where the athletes have no fix.
And those I'm assuming are like knee injuries or something like that, where Tommy John, maybe have to go maybe it's a third Tommy John, something that you have to say, you know what,
neck injuries in football players, back injuries in volleyball players, and we've had to tell some athletes it's just not safe for you to keep playing, and that's hard to manage that and work through that with an athlete.
It is indeed. Well, okay, so being an athletic trainer requires a lot of schooling, as we read through your resume there, and a lot of continued education. And it's really, I don't think it's known how much re-education you have to do in order to maintain your credentials as an athletic trainer and as a health professional. So walk us through that a little bit.
So we've got your basic first aid CPR that you have to renew every 2 years. You have...
We just finished that yesterday,
yesterday, yes, and all the coaches did great. So that's kind of the obvious, okay, you've got to be qualified to help an athlete. And then we have to have 50 continuing education credits. And what those are classes or courses that you take to stay proficient in your field, whether it's keeping up with the newest trends like cupping and acupuncture and dry needling, or if it's, going back and reviewing the new surgical procedures for a shoulder repair, a knee repair. Long time ago, they didn't fix ACLs, or the surgery procedures were different, and all those things have changed. So staying current with what's out there for your athletes, so that when an athlete comes to you and says, hey, I want to try this treatment, what do you do? And so we've got courses online. We have evidence-based practice, which is a new certification for athletic trainers, and where that is you have to learn how to evaluate research. There's so much research in the field of medicine, so you have to be able to read those articles and decide, is dry needling an appropriate treatment with the appropriate outcomes for what my patient's dealing with. So those get very time consuming, and you have to do that around all the hours you're spending in the training room.
It's an ever-changing world in the health profession. So for us reviewers, cupping is, I learned this. I learned this from the Olympics.
So you probably saw it on the Olympics.
Saw it on the Olympics. So cupping, just real briefly, what is that?
So it's a form of therapeutic treatment that brings the blood to the surface to promote healing. And so a lot of times you'll see it looks like a suction cup that they're sticking on. And,
big hickeys.
Yeah,
right, yeah.
And
not that I promote that.
in the past, cupping was a form of massage where you would use your hands and you'd make a cupping shape, and you can do that. Now this new technology, same thing, bringing blood flow to bring all the nutrients back into the tissues and the body to help it heal faster. So it's supposed to increase your recovery time.
Interesting. Okay, so your husband Josh, he also has an athletic training background. Is now a faculty member here at Yavapai College. How did you all meet? I mean, obviously through the program, I'm assuming. And do you ever talk shop when you get home?
So, true story, we met in college. Everybody says, oh, that's so weird, that's so typical. And it kind of was, but he was a year ahead of me in the program, and I was doing my internships, and I was taking my classes, and it was that introduction to athletic training class, and I couldn't tape. I was struggling with taping an ankle, and I'm like, I'm never going to do this job if I don't learn how to tape an ankle. And he was my lab tutor. So we had a group over to my friend's house. We all learned how to tape. Very nice guy. Thought, oh, he's kind of cool. Didn't really think anything of it because I was trying to tape. This is going to be my job. And so I go to my class the following day, and it's an anatomy lab. And he is assigned to be my partner. And so we worked through that class, and at the end of that class, he goes, hey, you think you'd want to go out sometime? And so it started from there.
We don't believe in fate, right?
And it's so weird because I have a cousin that grew up in Tehachapi, California, which is where my husband is from. And I grew up spending summers there with her. And this is where he is from. And I found out they lived just a couple blocks away from each other. So
that's fantastic.
And had the same best friends and different people that they knew. So it is very a small world, and maybe there is a little bit of fate in that.
Maybe there is. Do you ever talk shop at home?
Of course.
Right.
Hey, how was your day? What's going on? Hey, I saw the coolest thing today. Or did you know this is a condition that this athlete has? And that's to the point where if I call my team physician, he says, what's new and weird with you today, Tara? Because you always get the weird things. So we do like to discuss some of the cases that we're seeing, and he helps me brainstorm through some of those problem-solving issues that we have when we're at a standing point with an athlete's injury.
Yeah. Good team. It's a good team there. All right, last question. You were at Fresno State, and you worked with the basketball your senior year, worked with men's basketball, and Jerry Tarkanian, the great basketball coach, UNLV fame, he's at Fresno State. Tell us about Jerry Tarkanian. Tell us a Jerry Tarkanian story.
Yeah. So it's actually funny because what happened is my senior year I worked with Ray Lopes. He's the one that took over for Jerry Tarkanian when he retired in 2002. So my program years, I worked with Ray Lopes, but during my hours where I'm trying to get these clinical hours, my mentor, Ed, says, why don't you come in? You don't have very much basketball experience on your resume to get into this program. We'd like to see some variety in sports you're working rather than just football and soccer. And I said, okay, I'll come. By that time he was trying to teach me how to do certain things, and I walk in and didn't realize that Jerry Tarkanian was the coach, and I'm going, I can't do this. And he's like, no, you can. I'm like, I can't get my gloves on fast enough to even, if something happens, he's going to look at me and go, what the heck's wrong with you? And so I think my mentor, Ed, had this set up for a long time before I got there, because he says, here's a glove, and here's this pack of medicine, and he goes, do not lose that. It's life or death. Do not lose that. And I'm like, okay. Wow. And, find out it's Jerry Tarkanian's heart medication. And so I'm like running around with it, but I'm like, why do I have this glove? And he's like, just put it on. And Jerry Tarkanian is walking up and down the bench. It's my first game working with him, walking up and down the bench. And I'm just a student, and I'm just here to kind of watch and learn, and I'm just going to do whatever's told to me. And he's yelling and screaming. The guys aren't making shots. And he just keeps looking at me, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I shouldn't be here. I'm not supposed to be here. He's going to yell at me too. And he throws his towel, the famous towel. He's biting on sweat, and I'm like, must be what I have the glove for.
Right.
So I pick it up to hand it back to him, and he glares at me, and then he winks and smiles and walks away. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm never coming back. I'm never coming back again. But it turns out he was actually very nice, very good to talk to about what he saw going on, and it was fun to watch him mentor his athletes. You can tell he was in the midst of a bunch of different scandals. Everybody knows Jerry Tarkanian for that kind of stuff, but it was truly fun to watch him get angry with these guys and then take him by the shoulder and say, hey, you're doing okay. Yeah.
That's amazing. What an amazing experience. Yeah. So the glove was for the towel.
For the towel.
And you put the towel back on the chair. And
I'm just trying to walk over and make sure he has this, because I'm like,
right.
He always had it. And yeah, so it was very scary, very interesting, but neat to
Great
just
learning
get to work with that.
experience, yeah.
And then when Ray Lopes took over for him, I remember meeting him for the first time. And the first time I had to work with him, I had to tell him that his athlete didn't get taped. And it just must be the way that Ed was as an athletic trainer. He had been there 25 years at that point and worked with these basketball guys for forever. And he says, you need to tell the coach. And I'm like, it's my first day working with this coach. I can't do that. I'm going to get in trouble. The guys are going to hate me. They're going to have to run. And I go and tell the coach in front of the team, and he's like, everybody on the line. And he goes, now we're just kidding. Thanks, Tara. It's like, seriously.
Wow.
Yeah. So
welcome
both times,
welcome to the job.
Both times I think Ed was preparing me to work with some of those difficult coaches.
Right.
But, yeah, it was a fun and neat experience.
And that's you in your someone in your position, head athletic trainer. You have to be kind of a hard person, and you have to take the hates and the dislikes and whatnot, because you're really for the benefit of the not just the program but the athlete itself.
Yeah, and it's hard to be told that it's just not in your best interest when all you want to do is compete. And so yeah, sometimes you have to be the bad guy, but it's what you're here for, and
right.
It's just part of the job.
It's part of the job, indeed, and you do a great job with it. And we're very appreciative and are lucky to have you with us. Well, this concludes our edition of the Rider Report. We want to thank you, Rider Nation, for joining us. We look forward to seeing you again. And finally, as always, go Rough Riders.